Many times people ask me, how did you get involved in the pro-life movement, and how did you meet Father Frank Pavone, and what are you doing there, and what kind of work do you really do? And so many people are surprised about the title, Director of African American Outreach. Well, it all started in New York. And Priests for Life, of course, has the home office or the main office in the New York area. And I met Father Frank Pavone in New York at a National Right to Life meeting. And he was speaking, actually preaching, because Father Frank is a preacher, and he's preaching about life and the importance of life. And then he began to quote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so, of course, my ears just perked up. I was already pro-life, but I was at that time doing work for school choice and let's uphold the 10 Commandments, and something in my spirit just jumped. And as he began to quote Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my uncle, and I said, my goodness, he's telling the truth. I had heard of Father Pavone, but I had not met him. We talked that day, and I began to say, you know, that is in that speech, that we should respect life, and infanticide is wrong. And he was quoting I Have a Dream. He went over into a letter from a Birmingham jail. And as we began to talk, I began to tell him about my own life and the days of the civil rights movement, and how the new civil rights movement, of course, has to be the pro-life movement. And so Father Frank and I began to work together a little bit, and he told me about a woman, Janet Morana. He said, you need to know Janet. And when I met Janet, you know, I said, hi, Janet, how are you? And as I look at Janet Morana and her work, and I was so encouraged when I met Janet. And I'm saying, Janet, Silent No More Awareness. What's that? Janet Morana was talking about women who were post-abortive, who regretted their abortions. And at that time, I had not really talked about my own abortions. I might mention it on the side or to a person, but never publicly. And so it seems as though Father Frank Pavone, Janet Morana, Priests for Life, I began to feel something in my soul and something in my spirit. And so I began to work first with Father Frank a little bit, and I began to appear on EWTN, which was wonderful. I began to be interviewed by Janet. And as I continued to talk with Janet, talk with Father Frank, I began to say, no, this is where I belong. And early in the 21st century, Father Frank says, okay, well, we've been speaking together, we've been doing television together, let's work together. And I thought that that opportunity was a little strange, I'll be honest with you, because here I am now, a public speaker, beginning to talk about pro-life, but black people didn't want to hear that message. And I knew I had to tell people about how terrible abortion was, how it hurt women, how it killed babies, how it was targeting black people. And what I found at Priests for Life, what I found at Silent No More Awareness a little bit later, was that there were people who were brave enough to tell the truth. And so beginning to tell the truth through my early experiences with Priests for Life would finally unfold into an experience that would reach many, many African American people. And I'll always be very grateful for that.